Hello, welcome to the Tom's Hardware podcast for today, February 20th, 2024. As always, I'm Tom's Hardware Editor-in-Chief, Avram Pilch, joined by Associate Editor Les Pounder, and our very special guest, James is here. James Mitchell is going to talk to us about his new Raspberry Pi camera project. We've had him on the show before to talk about a Star Trek interface a while back, and that was awesome. So, James, what's new with you?
So I've moved on to a different project. So we left Star Trek behind a little bit, and I've now created a PiCamera 2 web UI interface. So PiCamera 2 is the Python library that connects to LibCamera, which controls the camera module for the Raspberry Pi. And I've just basically built a web interface that interacts with PiCamera 2, which then interacts with LibCamera, and it allows you to control the feed from the camera. So yeah, the interface allows you to view the feed from the camera, and it allows you to control all the aspects of the feed. So you can rotate the camera, you can do some other magical things and change brightness and contrast and focus as well if you've got the new camera module. And yeah, it's really it's a real fun project.
Definitely. Does it cover every single model of camera, or is it just the official cameras?
It does only cover the PiCamera the Raspberry Pi camera modules. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it with the Argon, but if it's using LibCamera, in theory, it should still work.
Good point. Yeah, they're changing it, haven't they? Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, high quality camera. I mean, obviously, there's some settings that are disabled when you use the high quality camera. For example, autofocus won't be there, but the system that I've created will filter out what you can't use.
Right. Awesome. So how long did this take you?
About a week of evenings.
That's quick.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite familiar with PiCamera 2 already. I've used it for quite a while. And with the previous project we already mentioned, the Star Trek thing, I had some learnings from that project where it was using Flask and then being able to interact with web interfaces. So then I just kind of put the two together, essentially. Although the interface I've made here doesn't look like the Star Trek one, unfortunately. I used Bootstrap for that, but yeah, essentially the learnings are pretty much the same.
That's cool. Now, you've got a demo, haven't you, James, that you can show off tonight? Do you want to do the demo now?
Let's see it.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to go through the demo now and then sort of talk about what's underneath it all, how the technologies that's involved in making it work.
Yeah. So I started sharing my screen there. I think you can see it. Yeah, cool.
Got you.
So this is a little diorama I made up for this interface for this demo. So yeah, to the left-hand side, you've got the actual feed. Now this is live, so if I put my hand here, it's actually live. This is running off of a Pi 4, by the way, so it's not like the Pi 5 where it's like super smooth. Mm-hmm. This is still quite smooth for a Pi 4. Pi 3 actually does quite well as well. And you can even go down to 0 and it works. It's a little bit choppier, but it still works and it's usable. Mm-hmm. That's the feed. It just sort of kind of get a lower frame rate. So the different things you can do, you can change the orientation of the image. It takes a second to actually do that because it has to restart the stream, but we can flip it around. I'll just flip it back so it looks normal again. This is the V3 camera, so I have autofocus enabled, but if I turn it off, it will go to the default lens position, which is 1, and then I can mess around and really like focus in. So if I do put the box here, you can see that it's actually really focused in. And then if I do continuous again, it will go back to trying to decide what to focus on. And it's live, so it's all working right now. Then cool. There's other focus ranges, focus speeds, which don't really show anything right now. but you can also change like the exposure compensation, so we can max that out and make it super bright, or if it's too bright, we can also make it super dark. And this is all happening as I'm using an interface. As long as I let go, it will automatically change it. And there's also white balance if you want to do that. So I can change that to daylight or cloudy. Actually, just for a second, make that a little bit brighter because it looks a bit too dark. There we go. So we can change the, we can change the white balance. So we can make that like cloudy. So it turns it a little bit more orange, or tungsten, because it's an LED light that I've got on right now.
Yeah.
One of the more recent features that we put in, I put in, is this scalar crop settings, which I kind of maybe just entered some values in so you can see what exactly it does. So I already pre-made some values, and 1000. If I set that, it will zoom in on a frame, a part of the sensor. So you can define you can define how big the box is and where the box starts basically, and then it will draw it out here in the interface, so you can have a representation of where the box would be. And then obviously you've got, like, this is still the live feed. It's not a still or anything like that.
I love the immediacy. You put those details in, you put the numbers in, it's like bang, you're straight into the shot. That's great.
So if I max these out as well, because I can't remember what the resolution was, if I zero the X and Y, and then it will automatically just fill the crop and it'll go back to normal.
That's nice.
So another cool thing is we've got the reset default settings, which I need to rename a little bit because default settings is a bit ambiguous with it comes to PiCamera. So it's more like reset to a normal setting. And then there's also like save current settings. So then if I were to, oh yeah, by the way, all these changes that I'm making here live are persistent. So if I reloaded the page, the feed would still look the exact same. And any kind of change that I would make, like let's say, where did I do one? Exposure compensation was changed to 0.3. If I reload the page, it will still say 0.3.
Oh, nice.
So there it's there. So this save current setting, it's basically makes it persistent over server restart. So if you've unplugged it, powered it down, and then you go somewhere else, then you can load it back up and you will still have your settings from your last session.
Brilliant. So where's it saving the settings to? Is it an external file, or is it in the actual Python file that's running the code?
So the settings that I'm making here right now, so the live changes are basically stored in like cache. It's just variables in the Python code.
Yeah.
But when I save it, it's going to save to a JSON file. JSON file, why? Because it's very much the similar format to PiCamera 2. So it's a very interchangeable thing.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Then another feature is, if I do this, it's responsive layout. Okay, the button doesn't look so great here, but it is a responsive layout. So if you're on your cell phone, this will work very, very well as well, without any issues. So if you wanted to do a hotspot and have this running for a while, actually, I could even show you. My son and I, oh, that's a little bit tiny. My son and I, we did a project where we've got the camera attached to the telescope, and we wanted to take pictures of the moon and other astronomical bodies. And we could just do that now, where we can just have the screen on one side and we can fiddle around with it and then be able to view it in full resolution. So yeah,
that's fantastic.
So so responsive layout is we're not done. Responsive layout is there. There's also, as you saw here, capture image, so I can take a photo and save it. And if you go to view gallery, there's a small gallery I've been taking pictures already. There's a small gallery. These are saved files in the server, so you can pick them off and use them. So you can view them, download them, delete them if you don't want them. Yeah. So it gives a little bit more flexibility. So if you were using a headless sort of just PiCamera and terminal, it would be so difficult to get the images off, or at least time consuming to get the images off. This way you've got an interface that allows you to do this.
That makes it so much easier, because in the past, we were discussing just before the show, using PiCamera originally, I never knew there was a web interface for it. And James told me, no, it's a web interface, but there isn't one for PiCamera 2.
Yeah. So actually, that's another good point, is because PiCamera 1, or the original PiCamera, is no longer really supported at all with Raspberry Pi OS. Thanks. So if you were to update to Bullseye, not Bullseye, but even Bullseye as well, actually, it wouldn't work. And then if you updated to Bookworm, it definitely wouldn't work. So you have to be forced to use PiCamera 2, and then you lose the interface, and then you lose all the flexibility we had before. So that's why I created this, because I wanted that flexibility back.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, what a great interface too, because this means that you can have it on your local network, and your Pi can be headless, and you can easily control it without connecting any monitor or peripherals to your Pi.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So, I mean, is there planned, or are there plans to sort of expand this into the video side of things?
Yes and no. Video is probably more or less the last thing that I'm going to be doing. At the moment, I want to get this interface, which is the light version. There's a reason why it says light. It's just going to be controlling the camera, taking a picture, and the gallery, and that's it, essentially. So once that's feature complete, I'm going to move on to the next stage, which is a little bit more management of profiles for the settings that you want to create. So if you've got a scenario of like night photography and day photography, you could save those in separate instances, and then also time-lapse, which is also on my roadmap. And eventually it will turn into video at some point. And video shouldn't be too difficult.
Well, I want to ask you the tough question that's on everyone's mind. Where did you get the Raspberry Pi minifigure?
Everyone asks. I can't tell you. I'm not allowed to. He's a one of a kind, and there are printing services out there, but a lot of the time they don't do it. They don't allow to use copywritten logos and stuff like that. So, for example, if you went to the Lego store that does print Lego minifigs, they won't let you use logos. So if you have a friend in weird places, you could probably figure that out somehow.
So this isn't a sticker, right? it's printed onto the...
No, it's really printed on.
But that's supposed to be, that was originally Robin from Lego Batman, right?
Yeah, no, he's been my mascot for a little while now, and he's got a twin over there, which is
Pimoroni.
Mr. Pimoroni. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll put him back there.
Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, I'm sure that's what everybody wants to know, but
it's every time someone asks me, where did you get this minifig? And I can't tell them. I was just lucky.
Dun, dun, dun. See, that's quite a collaboration. Is that a Lego TARDIS as well?
Yes, it is. It's from the Lego Ideas set.
Yeah, I've got the same one on the bookshelf downstairs.
Dun, dun, dun. That's awesome. I can see this totally being really, really useful for doing things like still shots. Well, I mean, obviously still shots, but like for product photography, like if you put this in a like somewhere nearby, and then I go onto my laptop or whatever, and I'm able to control it. Is there now that you can do two cameras on the Pi 5, are you going to have some type of a support for switching cameras?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
It will be there. This is again because I want to make the light version, which, well, essentially the non-light version will have a database. It will be a bit more complicated to work, and it's going to have a little bit more. It needs a little bit more power of the Pi. But the light version will just be basically being able to switch between cameras, and that's it. So that's my next thing in terms of the light version, is to make that feature complete with that.
That seems like such a key thing, because especially if you were having the Pi be remote somewhere and you had multiple angles or whatever, then that would be.
So in theory, I could create somewhere where you can add multiple feeds.
Right.
And then also maybe use sockets to have one interface control multiple cameras.
On multiple Pis?
With different Pis. No, different Pis. Yeah.
Oh, that would be very slick. Oh,
that will definitely be a non-light version.
Version.
Sounds
complicated, because you'd have to have a feed from each of them. But that is really, really cool. I mean, very, very impressive. Especially something that people really need. What types of photography have you been doing with Raspberry Pi, and are you primarily now on the latest versions of the cameras?
So yeah, I have the latest version of the cameras. I have done pretty much all sorts of photography when it comes to the PiCamera. I've done time lapse. I've done astrophotography. I've done 360 panoramas. That was an interesting one. I've mostly stuck with time lapses, to be honest, because I found that more enjoyable for me, and doing some cool projects with that. But that was with the older cameras. The new cameras I haven't used so much for real photography yet, because I'm doing this interface basically with them.
Oh, something else I could see somebody wanting to do with this is support for USB cameras. Is that, like, if you connect a USB camera to your Pi?
Not with this interface. That would be like, okay, if video is the last thing, then that would be beyond that, I think. But,
got it.
But you're talking about rebuilding the whole interface. If it doesn't interface with PiCamera 2, then it's not in my scope.
Got it. Makes sense. Well, very, very, very impressive stuff. So Les, what have you been working on this week? I know you've been doing some really interesting stuff. Can you talk about what you've been testing?
I can talk about something, but not everything. So last week on the show, I showed off an absolute plethora of Argon cases, and I had loads of them. So I'll go to the other cameras and see what I've got this week. And one of the questions was about this case, the Argon Neo 5 NVMe. So I literally put it on the show and, hey, look at this. It was like those 15-second speed infomercials. It's like, hey, look at this. And I threw it out of shot. So it was just so little time. So I had so much to talk about. So I've been messing around with this and taking it apart, seeing how it works. And this is Argon Neo 5 NVMe case. And it's, let's be honest, it's chunky. Okay? So there's the official Pi case. Just get it back in shot. It's a chunky case, but you're getting a lot for your money. So it's about £35, $40 at the moment, this. You get a metal lid. There you go, you can hear that. Pull the lid off, you get the same cooling as the Neo 5 case, which we've already reviewed. Same power connection to keep the fan going. You've got the lovely Wave here. I know I sound on QVC now, shopping channel. You've got a Wave for your heatsink. You've got the fan that blows cold air over the heatsink to get rid of the heat. You've got the GPIO connection. But, you've also got camera connections as well. Quite handy for James. Underneath this, you've got NVMe. So I was thinking, that's great. Well, how do you get access to NVMe drives? There's no M.2 socket here. Well, it turns out, and I didn't notice this on the first pass, you have to take the bottom off. So this is where I get the screwdriver out. Nothing like a live demo, is there, of this? Watch me lose a screw. the NVMe socket is on the base, and that is your heatsink to keep it cool, and you get a thermal pad. So you go from 2230 all the way up to 2280 if memory serves for your drive sizes. So put a drive in there, put a PCIe cable in there, just a bit of shine on there. There we go. PCIe cable there, goes into your Pi 5. So this is for $40, going to keep your Pi 5 cold with an NVMe drive, give you access to GPIO and the cameras. There's a lot to like here for that money.
So, does it come with a PCIe cable, or do you have to buy that somewhere?
Oh, it comes with it. It's in a little bag just out of shot. There we go.
So you don't need to buy a hat or a foot.
No. All in there. That is your hat as well. So it's a hat for the NVMe. It's cooling, passive and active for the Pi 5. And you've got all the pass-throughs for all the connections. So this, I've got a feeling, because the Neo 5 case, one that precedes this, went onto the best pages relatively quickly after reviewing it. I've got a feeling this is going to go on the same place.
Now, what would you need to do to put a hat on that?
You would need...
Would you need an extender?
Yeah. So let's put this in. This camera's a little bit better for the light, because it's a bit of a shine. You can see where the printed numbers are, just said. That's the GPIO connection. So your GPIO pins would poke out through there. Because of where the fan is, you're going to need an extension header. So a 40 pin, so a 20 by 2 header to make it a bit higher up, so it's not interfering with the fan. Now, looking at it quickly, you're not going to have anywhere to mount the legs for hats here. Those are just out of size, not in the spec for hat. But you should be able to rest some plastic standoffs on there to keep your hat out the way of this. Or I should say Hat Plus, because hats don't really work on Pi 5. It's Hat Plus, isn't it now?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of an oversight, though. They should have at least given you a mounting place to mount and some standoffs. And they probably, for that money, they should include an extender in the box.
Quite possibly the extender, yeah. But for the standoffs, probably not, because they're quite cheap. You can buy a pack of them for about $6 from Amazon, a big box of them.
Right, but you need ones that are the right height for this, and then they don't have hole for it either. So, I don't know. It just seems like not a very hat-friendly case, which is always a shame. But on the other hand, you are getting a lot because you're getting the cooling, you're getting the NVMe. So if you're not using a hat, and you're just connecting other stuff to the GPIO, or not using GPIO at all, then it seems like it would be a good choice.
Is this got like a gap for you could put ribbon cable on it, so you could put like a black hat hacker on it?
Yeah, there'll be a gap.
Probably not if it's closed.
Yeah, I was wondering.
There is. Yeah, let's go to solo shot so you can see what I'm talking about. There is. There. It will just fit.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay.
Yeah, that is very nice. I like the labeling as well of the GPIO as well.
Yeah. It's really nice, the labeling. That's what we mentioned in the previous review for the previous version. It just helps out a hell of a lot. But my feeling with cases like this, if you're not buying this case for hat compatibility, you're not going to stick this with, for argument's sake, an Explorer Hat Plus, if it ever one exists in the future. You're going to be using this as something to put a hard drive in and use it as a media center or as a low power computer on your desk.
Or a home lab.
Yeah. Or like Alex is doing right now, he's watching this show on his Pi 5 with an Argon Neo 5 NVMe. So he's got one of these, keeping his Pi 5 cool when he's watching the show. Cheers, Alex.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. I mean, I think it's good to have some kind of case around it, because if you are going to use a hat, you still want something, because you know, best not to, I don't know, keep it protected a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that is really cool. I think we're finally starting to see some nice Pi 5 stuff come out in the marketplace. And availability seems to be getting a lot better too. So,
yeah, Pi 5's staying in stock. which is great. Pi 4 is staying in stock as well. So if you don't need the power of a Pi 5, get a Pi 4. Does a good job.
Yeah, definitely.
And it seems like the accessories companies are getting out all the accessories now. I won't get them all out because I've got an absolute ton. But there's Argon 5 case from last week. There's the new Argon coolers, like the air intake on a hot rod car. All the new stuff's coming out for the Pi 5 now, and it's good to see. In fact, I can't get the rest of the stuff because it's only just here. It's in arm's reach. There you go. Another Neo 5 case just in black, not black and red. And Argon's own active coolers. Their own version. Nice. And I got them out on the show last week. They are very nice. They look similar to the official Pi ones, but they've got a nice... What's the word? It's like an industrial military feel to them. Like they're rugged.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to take some abuse. Obviously, they're not. Because like you don't treat your equipment like that. You make sure it's all nice and well cared for. I did have something else to show you, but it has disappeared in this pit that I call my office. Argon's got their own version of the power supply as well, which is eluding me. It was here somewhere, but no. But I have spotted two other things. I'll just go out short for a second. We have the new Argon 1 V3 case for the Pi 5. There we go. And we have the Argon 1 V3 M.2, that's a mouthful, NVMe PCIe case. So, same as that, but it's got a base on it for NVMe PCIe drives. And you'll notice as well, can I get this in shot without hitting the lights? It has an RP2040 inside it. Both of them do. And I've worked out that's to do with the fan control.
Interesting.
Yes, there's a Pico inside. You can actually program the Pico inside of this as well. It's got a USB-C port inside. If you really want to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? That's awesome. Well,
I just wanted to bring up one thing that just suddenly occurred to me since we switched to cameras. One thing with the PiCamera 2 web interface, you can actually load the Stream app into a full screen feed, and then you can use that in OBS.
Oh, so that's a big deal because
because
once you have it in OBS, for folks not super familiar with OBS, you can make it into a virtual web camera. So
essentially, yeah.
So you could, so like right here, we're using a tool called StreamYard, which is a web tool that, you know, and so it's not software like OBS, but if you had OBS on your computer, you could make it into a virtual webcam and therefore use it in any browser-based application that you wanted.
Yep.
That's pretty much how it works right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm using an Android phone for the overhead, using SCR copy to do the overhead camera. So it's just basically mirroring the content from the phone in a camera app.
What do you, Les, what do you use to mount it for the overhead shots?
I have got, I go into the camera drawer now, we have over here a load of these magic arms, and let's get the right camera on so you can see my face. There you go. Loads of these with all different attachments and gripper arms. So I can set them to a certain position, lock it, and there you go. It's locked. And I've just got attachments for mobile phones that you can pick up on Temu, AliExpress, or Amazon for very little dollars.
So
these are small rig magic arms. They're about $20, $30. You can get clones, but you know, you pay your money, you take your chance really with these. If you get the cheap ones, the threads do break quite easily, so I'd pay a bit more money and get the good ones.
Cool. Well, that's a good tip. I'm always envious of your overhead setup. Do you use something special for lighting?
Yeah, just like Matt, we have massive overhead lights over our desk. So I've got one. Can't show this, can I? Actually, well, I can, but I'll probably blind everyone. So let's see what I can do. Watch your eyes. So I've got a massive light right above the desk, and I can control the temperature of that, brightness, everything. It's taken me a while to learn that because if you remember early versions of this show, I had the color balance done incorrectly, and it looked like I had bright red hands,
I
which was fun.
mean, that's really helpful. I gotta get some setup like that. Well, thank you so much to all of you for listening and watching, and thank you so much to James for joining us, and thank you, James, so much even more for creating this wonderful tool that everyone in our community can benefit from.
No problem.
Fantastic, mate.
We'll be back next Tuesday, the 27th, at the same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time, with another special guest. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.